Okay, I think it's 11:05. We get started. Uh, super. Good morning again. Super happy to have you guys in the 6th edition of FireSide Chat. You guys know my name, but I'd like to introduce another co-host, Shyam, uh, for which you people know already, whom you know already. So he's going to be my co-host. First thing first, I'll be like dropping off in 45 minutes. I need to support for my son's school, so Shyam will be taking over. But we are going to talk from right now. But yeah, but today, for me, like this person is why it is very. I like this person a lot is because he was my first mentor in ADP list, as I told you guys in the message box, right? Like when I was trying to get into ADP in 2021, I would say, and then I was wanted to talk to some really good mentors, right? And then like I was going through Nav's profile, and then like it was almost it was I think I booked the call 4 weeks ago, and then I thought like oh, he's gonna forget. And because it was very early morning for him, like almost 7 a.m. I remember, right? And then like I thought, I'm pretty sure he's gonna miss it, right? But on the Saturday, I think it's Saturday morning or weekday morning, I don't remember, but he was there. He was there, and for almost spoke for an hour. He gave me like at that time is when I joined almost lyric, and then we are trying to understand like how startup works and also like how to build a team, right? So he gave me a lot of gyan, and that kind of really helped me at the period of time, right? And then luckily, like I also got to meet him in person in design of 2022, and he delivered a wonderful speech. I also shared the video YouTube link you guys in the chat, right? Not sure, like please take a look at it. It was a wonderful. He kind of went through the entire user research journey that he did as part of his team Jiva. So I'm super excited for him to be here, and also like to get like you guys. Again, as I said, like it's going to be a very good session today with him. So now, please unmute and come on the video. I'll just pin you.
Hey everyone. Thanks, Bharat. Thanks for the introduction. Yeah, it was weird sitting listening to you speak about me. But thanks for the kind words, and thanks everyone for having me. Hopefully this will be at least interesting today. Yeah.
Yeah, super, super. Now, so see, I gave kind of introduction from my side, but we would love to know more about yourself from you. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, sure. So I live in Singapore right now. I've been living here for 15 years, but I was born in Chandigarh. I grew up in Chandigarh. Then I worked at Bangalore for a very short time, for about a year. This was back in 2006. Then back then I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And, I didn't start as a designer. I didn't start as a lot of people start as engineers. I did computer engineering, but my first job was actually to speak in front of people. And so I was doing that for about 3 years. And then I moved to Norway as a product manager. I was working at Opera, which was a browser company back then. And then from there, I moved to Singapore. And when I moved to Singapore, I decided that, it's time for me to kind of make the switch to design, because that was always what I wanted to do, but I couldn't really figure out how to get into it back then. And I moved to Singapore, set up a design studio, ran out of money in 4 months because Singapore is very expensive. So took a job as a product manager again. And then a year later, back to design after saving a little bit of money. So there was a bit of, trying to find my footing. And eventually in 2010, 11, 13, in 2013, 2012, I took over a design studio that was here who I'd been doing some projects with. And so I was very fortunate to that things aligned, and I took over a design studio and I ran that design studio for 7 years. I grew that studio from 7 people in Singapore to over 30 people across Singapore, Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia. And then I left that because I was doing more of running a business as a designer rather than growing as a designer. So I wanted to go work with other designers who I could learn from. So I joined the ex-IDEO team in Singapore for a while. And then I realized actually I was kind of maybe, not giving myself credit where it was due. So I then went back into going, okay, I'll, run design teams. And then that's when I joined Jiva about 4 years ago. And we've been building the team there. So I was the second designer to join at Jiva. And we built the team up to about 32 people across Singapore, India, Indonesia. And that's where I am right now. That's what I'm doing right now.
Beautiful, beautiful, amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, so I don't know where to start, but I'll start somewhere. So
And before that, Bharat, are we recording?
yes, I have my AI
Okay.
assistant.
Oh, AI does that stuff.
Yes,
Okay.
he's going to record. He's going to take all the proper summary notes. We have got.
Nice.
Fantastic.
So okay, I think because we're talking about it, like now let's quickly talk about that. Right? I mean, a lot of designers, a lot of like design leaders have talk about it. Like from your perspective, like how do you see AI in general? I mean, it's a very late topic. I would say we are almost everyone started using, but generally, like what's your perspective AI in design?
Yeah, in design, it's interesting, right? So about like you said, it's a late topic, but I think it's not late just in the sense that everyone's kind of become familiar with it, and less people are completely scared of it or find it overwhelming. Everyone started kind of explicitly using AI tool in some way. AI has been a tool, right? The future, like if we start talking about where's AI headed and where it'll take us, I think that's a different conversation. But if we talk about where AI is right now, it's a very powerful tool. And the way I see it is it's complementing work of every team. So I run at Jiva, we have 4 design teams. We have a product design team, design research, service design, brand and comms design. And we're using it extensively in almost every team to use it as a tool. And a year and a half ago, I could see, including me when it came out, I wasn't sure what's happening, what to do with it. But I could see a lot of designers really getting scared, really having that kind of fatalist attitude saying, this is going to take my job. This is going to take my job. And I could see developers looking at designers who were building websites and, apps developers going, AI is going to take my job. A designer can do what I do. And then designers were looking at developers and going, oh, AI is generating designs. The developer is going to take my job. What am I going to do? So there was just this lot of uncertainty. But what I've realized is so far what we've seen is it's just a tool. It's another tool, right? We've used all kinds of tools as designers. When I started, there was Flash, Macromedia Flash, and Dreamweaver. And then Photoshop was the big thing. Illustrator came, and Sketch came along. I used to do whole workshops in Singapore for Sketch. InVision was there. I don't know if anyone remembers InVision.
Yep.
There was, Abstract was there, which is the version control for sketch files, right? Made by Tim Van Dam, the guy who did Instagram's designer, right? And Frank Chimero. Then Figma. And so it's new tools, right? And if as a designer you tie your worth to your expertise in a tool, it's the wrong place to, it's the wrong place to invest your time. You shouldn't do that, right? Tools are going to keep changing. That's the only constant. So it's a fantastic tool. We're using it across all teams, trying to figure out how it can help us think of new things, see how it can help us. Sorry. So we're using it to get new point of views, almost like a brainstorming companion in a lot of places. It's helping us do certain things better. Writing, writing is hard, very hard. So it helps, a lot of us write better. It's helping us do things faster in some cases. It's helping us be more self-reliant in a lot of places. But it's still, I think John Maeda said that he said that, it's like, I really like his framing. He said, AI is like a toddler right now. It's very strong, but it doesn't know what to do. So you still need people to help, right? So I don't see it replacing any jobs right now. It's complementing every job. It's rarely made us do something which we were like, oh, this was, at this quality, it's not, we wouldn't have been able to do it. But different people are able to pick up different things and do it. So I can, for example, create a very simple application for my Mac to format all my credit card statements and turn them into CSV. Super easy to do. I wouldn't have, not that in the past I would have, it's enabling me right now. It's helping me do things. And that's kind of where we are. It's fun. It's exciting. There's lots of new things coming out. So, yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
Shyam, you have any question?
Yeah, I mean, I would like want a more deep dive on your work on Jiva, right? So what's it feels like I on top level I just went through the website. It's more like agri-tech, but can you more explain what excites you about Jiva and how you guys operate? Like, what are the problems that you're trying to solve? So can you tell me about that?
Also adding to that now, right? Can you please also go through the design in Geo? I mean,
Yeah.
like that something it was super inspiring when I saw that video. Can
Yeah.
you please touch on that as well? Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So, in very simple words, at Jiva, what we're trying to do is work with. There's two ways to think about Jiva. That'll give you the most clarity. One is we're trying to work with farmers who are at the brink of poverty and create more value.
Mm-hmm.
We're a full profit making company. We're not an NGO. We're not a
Mm-hmm.
a not for profit. We're trying to, because we know if you want to really scale this up, we need to figure out a way of doing this profitably, right? So we're trying to create more value for smallholder farmers.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly right now, we're focusing on Indonesia and corn farmers. That's the biggest bulk, but we're actually working with multiple crops and such. But Indonesia, that's where we're focusing. So creating more value for smallholder farmers. And then on the other side, you could also look at Jiva uh, as an organization that's trying to bring in efficiencies into the value chain between the farm and all the way to the feed mill, right? So
Yep.
there's so from the farm to the feed mill, everything that happens in between. We're also looking at that entire value chain, entire ecosystem, and going, where can we optimize? Because if we want to create value on one side, we need to figure out where is there a loss of value, where can we optimize? So that's the goal. We're trying to create more impact and more value for the farmers, and to do that, we're looking at this entire ecosystem, right? And optimizing and figuring out where we can bring in technology. So that's what Jiva does. Now, you also asked about design, right? Um, so design's role, I mean, it's design's role kind of, we're balancing two parts of problem solving. Uh, solving the execution or let's say the utilitarian execution level, right? If you're building tools, you need people who can help you design the UI. If you're building if you've got teams on the ground, if you've got marketing on the ground, you need people who are generating all the assets and everything. So that's the utilitarian execution level of design, right? Which are executing. But then there is the defining problems, uncovering problems, solving problems, figuring out new ways of solving the problems that we're still struggling with. That part of the time as well. So we're kind of straddling both sides, and most days it's kind of like this balance of how much are we now focusing on just execution versus how much are we actually trying to improve what we're doing and create that better value. So that's what we do. So like I said, we have 4 design teams. The design, we build a bunch of tools, tools that are used by farmers, tools that are used by retailers in the villages, tools that are used by our teams on the ground. We have a lot of money flowing through the system, so there's a lot of financial tools that we built in house as well. So there's all of that. Then there's also like all these tools that are being built. You can't just build a tool, give it to someone, and say, "Now you'll be efficient." Right? You build a tool, you give it to someone, and they look at it, they throw it away. They're like, "This doesn't work for me," and then you have to figure out what's going on. Right? There's that part, and then we have design research and service design. Design research is on the ground. These are people spread across South Sulawesi, East Java, Central Java. These are people who are meeting our customers, meeting our teams all the time, like almost every day, like 3, 4, parallel research streams of work going on, parallel streams of research work going on, understanding, talking to customers, understanding, we're always just learning new things, and then you have to go back and understand what does that mean, and talking to our teams and all. Service design, piloting new projects, that's kind of what I've been spending a lot of time on, especially for the last 3 or 4 months, because we're at a very interesting stage at Jiva where we've been building a lot of products, but now we've taken kind of like a very strong opinionated approach on a few services that we want to offer. But they're completely new. No one's done that before. We've not done that before. So we're spending basically time on the field, sitting in feed mills the whole day and looking at, how does it feel if you're waiting at the feed mill for 2 days to unload your truck? That's our world, right? So we're doing that. Then there's brand and comms design. We have our services all over Indonesia, rural areas. Indonesia has very, very strong dialects in different parts. So, there's a lot of localization that happens, not just in terms of copy, but also in terms of content. So yeah, that's what design does at a broad level. Obviously, if you go like at a vertical level in an organization, that's a different story. How design is kind of integrated into the organization. We can talk about that as well if that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's one of the reasons why I asked that question, right? So, one of the reasons why people always talk about, oh, AI is going to take my job is not because people don't understand the high level need for a design team, right? So why does a design team even exist in an organization, right? So I just think that you beautifully explained how the Jiva team works, right? So that is what I want people to understand, right? This is the value of design, right? Not the tools and the deliverables, right? So
Yeah.
that's one reason why I picked up on that, right? So,
100%,
Bharat, do you want to add something?
I mean, like, see, I'm pretty sure Nav is a great person to talk about this. Why?
Yeah.
Because, Nav, you spoke about, see, you have a very complete design team, right? Because we have a design research, service design, like product, and also the branding, everything coming under, right? So, see, generally, like when design means, I would say 95% of the people think UX, UI, like screens, like mobile screens, right? But there's so much other things that we do in design, right? From your perspective now, right? Probably you can just take a couple of things from whatever your Jiva's or like the team in Jiva, right? Like for example, design research, where there's no screen at all. There's no like design. Research is literally talking to people, understanding, observing, understanding, figuring out, hey, is there a problem, right? So that's the main thing of design research. Right? How one would identify themselves as, oh, I'm a good researcher now, right? What are the qualities or abilities a design researcher should have? Also, very similar to like service design. Again, service design is something not everyone are exposed to here, at least in this community. I can really tell you, right? So we just recently had one WhatsApp chat.
Yeah, recent.
So I think one of our mentors, he kind of introduced the like word service design, and pretty sure it's a new term. But I believe there's a scope to it also. Now, probably you can also comment on it. Like, how do you think one can also think beyond screens and also try to push themselves to other aspects of
Yeah,
other?
I mean, the question that I would ask is, there's no need, like, we don't have to go deep into this, but on a high level, how do you make designers understand that this is how you think like a designer, right? So, not just in terms of, oh, I have this deliverable, oh, these are all the heuristics, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Not just in that, but how do you think of understanding the problem and solving it on the ground level, because Jiva is solving a unique problem, right?
Yeah.
But you can just summarize, yeah.
I'll try my best. So I think the interesting question that you guys are asking there is, I think you guys, it sounds like to me, there's a few layers, but it's basically what you're asking is, how is design going to stay relevant, right? Because you started with AI, and Shyam, you said people are saying AI will take jobs and stuff.
Yeah.
And people feeling like, oh, AI can do all of this. Do I need a design team?
Yeah.
But you're also asking, what is a good designer?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So I kind of feel like the key thing here is, so if you're a designer and you're trying to think of where is the design career, where is the design industry headed, right? You are right in thinking that, whoa, things are going to change and things are changing. People are feeling they don't need design, right? And it's going to feel uncomfortable, no doubt. But I would really encourage you guys to think of, the Dunning-Kruger effect. I hope I'm taking the name right, but basically the theory that the less you know about something, the more confident you feel
like,
right? And then the more you learn about it, the more you realize how much you don't know.
Yeah. True.
That is what the industry is going through right now. So if you have been someone in marketing, let's say, who's been doing marketing for a while, right? And struggling to get good design. You're in marketing and you're feeling, oh, I wish I had better designers. Right? You're not empathizing with, that design is hard. Like getting something good is hard. Creating something good in marketing is incredibly hard. It takes a lot of it. It takes a lot of iteration. It takes a lot of experimentation. If you think somebody can sit and give you, here's the best answer, and that will just solve your problem, it just doesn't exist. But everyone wants that. Now with design coming in, a lot of people have started going, I don't need design. So I can sit with Midjourney and create my campaigns very quickly. I don't need design. I can sit with DALI and create these things and all of those, right? Like, so I can do all of this stuff, but it's the Dunning-Kruger effect going on. Because as soon as you take over and you start doing this, you will go, first thing, last year, everyone started hitting was, I need a prompt designer. I don't need a designer. I just need a prompt designer who can give prompts better to Midjourney and DALI, right? Because it will create good outputs, right? But then you would get, then if you look for a prompt designer, who are you getting? Right? Are you getting someone who can write, understands Midjourney very well, but you still need an output. You still need an output that is good and relevant to your customers. So that was the first, like the wall hit. But now, like it's happening again, right? Like people are going, no, I need designers who can use AI to their benefit to do good work, because so far it hasn't reached a point where you can, where the output can be exactly what you need. To have an output, like to get an output, let's say just Midjourney, to get an output that is exactly what you want, you need to be able to express yourself exactly how you want the output to be. And the challenge with expressing yourself in very precise, exact terms is because you don't know the answers. You can say, give me a poster that looks like the Coca-Cola poster, but it's for a fertilizer. Let's say Midjourney creates it. You put it out there, conversion is zero. Why? Because, use red for a reason. Right? And Coca-Cola used models for a reason.
And are you talking about the problem, right? Their problem.
Exactly, right? So there's this initial excitement in the industry where it feels like, wow, I can do all of this myself. And you can be a lot more capable. But the thinking behind, what problem you're trying to solve, understanding and figuring out what the problem is, that is still needed. That is still necessary. So even as a designer, that's what I was saying, that if you tie your worth to a tool and say, I'm really good at Figma, that's not really, it's very easy to find 10 designers who are very good at Figma. Right? But anyone here in this group as well, I can't see everyone, I can only see Bharat and Shyam, but whoever's been in any kind of team, we will know that after a while, the person who knows Figma doesn't win. Right? There are people who are really, really good at Figma. They will still be worthy because they are, the reason they're good at Figma is because they take it very seriously. They're like, this is my tool. I'm going to be like the best swordsman and my sword is Figma. I'm going to be that person, right? But the people who consistently stay in jobs, consistently do well in jobs, are people who go beyond just a tool. They get up from their chairs and go, hey, why did you even ask that question? Why? Right? People who don't look for permission, people who don't go, oh, my boss didn't say that I need to do research. It doesn't work that way. If you want to be someone who succeeds, if you want to be someone who is good and is respected and just has fun doing what you do, you have to get up from your chair, from your emails and say, oh, the Jira ticket says do these designs. I did them. If you're doing that, you're just someone who's taking input and producing output. Taking input, producing output is going to become better. It's always been, that's what tools are. Tools are trying to optimize on that. But if you're someone who goes, hey, hang on, why did you even ask this question? Oh, I see you asking this question, but don't you think this is what you're trying to actually talk about? Right? That is the most interesting thing. I think this is the right time to bring up something which I think is very relevant to this, which is I think the best designers are designers who design in the right context. What I mean by that is we hear about context a lot in design. We hear about context in the sense that, are you designing for mobile or are you designing for desktop, right? Are you designing for old phones that are found in, rural area somewhere, or are you designing for the iPhone 16s and all, right? So we talk about context a lot, but I want to expand that definition of context. Context is also about where you're working. And it's very, very powerful if you really understand what I'm talking about, because what I'm saying is, if you're a designer sitting in a team, your context is all the people around you. If you can learn how to empathize with everyone who is working with you, not just who you're designing for, you will be so much better. When someone from, I know, partnership teams comes to you and says, hey, can I get this done? Can you help me understand in 3 days? If you at that point go, screw this, like every time they just keep coming and saying 3 days, you're just putting yourself against them. But if at that point you can go, hey, understand, 3 days is crazy. We're not going to get enough in 3 days. Help me understand why do we need this in 3 days? What are you trying to do? Right? And then you go, okay, well, we can't do all this, but from what you're saying, this one thing, if we can establish this one thing, then in 3 days, we will know if we need to spend more time on it or we can just stop here. Why don't we just do that? If you have this conversation with your stakeholder, because everyone's trying to do good work, if you can have this conversation, you build a bridge there. That is so strong. For 6 months, that person is going to be talking about who's the best designer in the team. It's Shyam. Who's the best designer in? They have nothing to do with the design team. They'll be like, oh, the design team. Oh, is that the team that Bharat works in, right? Yeah. And that is super critical. That is super, super important. So context, which you build by using empathy. Empathy, one of my mentors taught me this simple thing. Like he used to say this, and I love it. He said, empathy is your strongest weapon.
Yes.
Right? And empathy, not just for the users. We always say empathy for the users, but also the people that you're working with.
Definitely. Yeah.
Right? If you can understand where everyone's coming from, you build bridges that are super important, super, super strong. And that's what's going to make you a good designer. Then you can be the designer who gets someone who's very good at Figma and helps you solve that problem. Because you're actually understanding the problem.
Yep.
Right? And those are the kind of people who I like. I've been doing this now for 20 years, 15 years in design, 5 years before that. But consistently, if I look back, I'm like, who are the people who I remember is those people who didn't care what their role was. They just said, what needs to be done? What is needed? Nav, you're not listening to me, but this app needs a better icon. I built this. Look, it's not polished, but this is what I'm talking about. And make me go, yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Right. I'll give a real example of this. Last week, I was working with my team and we wanted to make a video. And we were trying a very new concept. And I said, guys, we don't have more than a week to do this. And these guys on Friday showed me something. They were like, this is not what you were talking about, but we still have 4 days. But look at this. And I just went, this is Friday, 4 p.m. And I was like, I didn't have any feedback. This is amazing. And now I'm like, I don't need to think about it. Right? The team's just kind of running with it. And there's an owner in the team. I don't need to push the team. And they're just like, we've got it. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Bharat, do you have any questions? Because I have a segue to the same.
No, go for it.
Let's go for the typical question, right? Since we talked about, what is the right definition of designers, how do you hire? How do you hire a good designer, right? What is your hiring thought process, and how do you pick the right designer, and how do you evaluate it?
I'll give you my answer, but I've realized over time it's not a very helpful answer for anyone.
Okay.
See, if I have to be very well, it honestly, a lot of it, the final decision, a lot of it is based on gut plays a big part in it. Gut, really, right? Why? Because I find it really hard to judge someone in 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. I find it really, really hard. I can evaluate someone based on some given metrics. Right? But I find it really hard to judge. And what that means is you will end up hiring people that in 3-4 months you realize it's not going to work. Right? It happens. But in a team, there is usually, like when you create a team, you also need to be aware that you will have all sorts of people. It's not about finding the best friends. It's about finding a team that's going to be able to support each other and work with each other well. And that's really hard. Like I can't even judge someone if we'll be best friends, right? And it's that. But having said that, there's this we're actually so Kenneth on my team, who's a product designer, who's one of the senior managers. He runs the product design team, and I worked a lot on it. I was working on it before Kenneth joined, and then after that, Kenneth and I worked on it, and then some other, like Karan, a bunch of other people on my team also worked on this. We're just trying to figure out when we're hiring someone, if I'm hiring someone, I could say it's based on my gut, but I also have my team members hiring people. So we were trying to create a framework to hire, and very high level, we put down basically three things. We said there's one part of a skill set that is a day one skill set, meaning if we're hiring for a certain role, what are the skills that we need from this person on day one? This is day one, right? Meaning, for example, simple example I'll give everyone, product design. If you're joining as a mid-level product designer, there is no scope for you to join and say, I'll learn Figma. No, Figma is a day one skill because we work with Figma right now. 3 months time, it could be something else, doesn't matter. But right now, the day you join, there are these things that we will need. If you're a researcher, you should have experience conducting interviews, writing research guides, having synthesized and presented stuff. So there are day one skills, which you say on day one, if this person joins, they need to have these skills. Second is going to be the growth potential. If this person joins in 6 months, day one we know, but in 6 months, we don't want someone who joins and stays exactly like the way they joined on the first day. We need everyone to grow. If someone joins as a junior, I need this person to grow and become a mid, and mid to senior, and so on. Like, I'm just giving titles as examples, but you need to grow. So establishing where they want to grow in these 6 months to a year, is there synergy there, right? So what are you trying to grow in? If you say I'm trying to grow in this, I have to be honest with you in whether I think this can happen or not. 90% of the cases, everyone grows in different ways, and 90% of the cases, design team will be able to support that. Like, yeah, you're going this way, going that way, we'll be able to do it. But there should be some alignment in that. If you're a product designer joining me as a mid-level, let's say again, for a product designer, and I ask you, hey, where do you want to grow? And you say, hey, in 6 months, what I'm really trying to do is be a design researcher, right?
Yeah.
I have to be very honest with you and say, this is not this is not a role where I can hire someone and move them into design research. If you're joining, there is no scope for that outright. I want to be clear. Things change, I don't know, but at this point, if that's where you want to grow, there may not be scope for that. If someone joins and says, for example, product design, they say, I want to be good at speaking, I want to be better at presenting my work to stakeholders. I can create scope for that within product design, because you're a mid-level, you'll be presenting every second day, third day. I can support you in that. It may take me 2-3 months to figure out how to best do that, but that could be aligned, right? So that kind of stuff. So what is that growth? Is there alignment in that? And then the last, which I learned from this, I'm forgetting the name of, which is this exercise that you do, which you say the success letter. So if you join my team on day one, on that day, I write a success letter that I will give you at the end of 1 year. So it's an exercise when you're writing a JD. It's an exercise that you have to do to write when you're writing a JD, right? So you go, okay, at the end of this year, Bharat, you're joining my team as a service designer or a senior designer. I'm going to write down that, okay, Bharat, if you did a great job, this is the letter I will give you at the end of 1 year. What that's forcing me to do is build clarity on what is this role? What do I need this role for? I'm writing down, okay, at the end of the first year, you should have delivered the design system that spans across 3 apps, delivery on these pods for 4 releases, and maybe mid-level, if you're there, maybe mentor the junior designer, something like that, right? Something achievable, which I can say, and I can be honest with you rather than saying, oh yeah, we'll do big things. But what are those big things I want to do? Here it is, right? These things will change. But it's an exercise when you're writing a JD. You go like, okay, this is why I really need this person. I've made mistakes with the same thing. I've hired senior people who I couldn't write this for, because I was like, I know I need someone senior because I don't know. I don't have enough time to figure this out. But because I didn't have clarity, they struggled. And it took us a long time to find a fitting. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of like at like a conceptual, philosophical level.
That's amazing.
How we're thinking about it.
I'm like rethinking how do I recruit, right? So this should be in JD, by the way. Like,
yeah. So we built a framework. This was the first day of it. We built a framework in Neo, where we had these 3 columns for every role. So we write down, okay, let's say senior researcher based out of Jakarta. We say, okay, day one skills from a senior. No excuse. On day one, we need this. It's a requirement. At the end of 1 year, what do we need? Why are we spending money to hire this role? What is the value of this role? What do you need to be able to deliver? This will change, but it should give you clarity on what we're looking for in this role. Then then it's a conversation. Like that 6-month thing is more like a conversation you're having and trying to figure out. But I mean, that's the conceptual level. But then, we have multiple rounds of interviews, exercises, etc., etc.
Amazing.
Amazing. I mean, like that.
I have a lot of takeaway from that,
I mean,
from this
like,
conversation.
Sorry to interrupt, but the letter that I was talking about, I'm really forgetting what the name is. It wasn't from a book. It was from, I had a call with Jared Spool. I think a bunch of you may have heard of Jared Spool.
Yep.
He wrote about this somewhere. This is like 5 years ago. I sent him a mail saying, hey, this sounds really interesting. I have some questions. And I spoke to him. He was very open. He got on a call and he told me about, look, this is why I use it. If you look for Jared Spool um, interview, if that's your search terms, I think you may be able to find it. If I find it, I'll definitely be able to find where the origin of this was and share it. I think I have the book as well, so I'll drop those links later.
Yeah, that'll be great. Yeah, amazing way to look in terms. Like it brings clarity, right, Bharat? What do you think?
Yeah.
So clear. We should also start doing that. Right? It's amazing. With that, can we open up for questions or?
Yeah. No, I think a couple more questions, right? Like,
Yeah.
quickly. so now, like, I mean, this is my favorite question, right? Like, what was your most vulnerable moment in this journey, and then how did you get help?
I mean, it's just it's like a Pandora, right? There's all the time you're like, oh, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do this. I mean, there's been many moments, right? There's times when I'm sitting in the board meeting and I'm like, I have nothing to add here. I don't know why I'm here. But then there are other board meetings where I'm the most like aggressive as well, right? So there's all of that. I think but I think the what you're asking me, I think when I was in my last job, I left that job because I was completely burnt out, absolutely burnt out. My message to my last boss, who is one of my, he's a big mentor. I love this guy. And I think that's why I could say this to him. My last message to him was, hey, I am not coming to work. And because I don't have anything, I can't lead my team right now. I just can't. And this was just 5 years ago, just before I joined Jiva, when this was at a point where I'd built teams of over 30 people already from scratch, for other companies as well. But I just was completely burnt out and I couldn't I was just kind of paralyzed and I just couldn't. Pete, my ex-boss, and he was super supportive and he said, take your time. Don't worry about work. Like he was super supportive in the best way that he could be. He was also running a small agency. He wasn't like in a place where he's like, I've got millions of dollars sitting. Like we were 20 people. This is the idea team working really hard. 20 people in the middle of a big project. I knew if I was leaving, I was leading the project. He would have to leave business development and jump into. I just couldn't work. So, but he supported me in the best way he could. I was completely burnt out. And I had been working with a coach till then already. I'd been mentoring people as well. But when I found myself in this place, it felt like nothing was helping and nothing could help. But I got really, really lucky where I found a coach during that time when I was really struggling, who I just really connected with, like who I was able to be completely honest and vulnerable with. Like I remember this is like the first call that I had with her. I was sitting in a room and it was dark because I didn't want to have the lights on, and I was just like video off. I just feeling very, very low, and I had like tears running down my cheeks because couldn't I couldn't figure out what to do because I was like, this wasn't an image of me I had ever even imagined, right? Because I'd always been very, very driven with work, and I was always doing that, but I just couldn't. Like, and it was right after COVID and lots of things happening, and so I found someone who I could be honest and vulnerable with too, and I mean, yeah, and that really, really helped. And I have basically been since then. Anyone who I find, I basically, kind of like almost like giving out, I any coach that I find, if I feel anyone can be connected with someone, I just say just go for it. Like just because it's been so transformative for me. It's been super transformative. Even now, for the last 2 years, I still talk to her once every month. I was talking to her back then, I think twice every week, because I was just going through such an intense period. But I still talk to her, and sometimes she says, like, "What do you want to talk about?" And I was like, "No, I'm not now. I'm not trying to fix something that's broken. It's like gardening. I need water. Even if I'm good flowers as a plant, I just want to make sure I'm getting the nutrition. So I have those chats. It's just introspection. I've tried meditation. I've tried other things. You have to find what works for you. But that's kind of like vulnerable and at an extreme level. But at work, you feel vulnerable all the time. You have a project that you're working on, you present it to everyone, and everyone just sits and looks at you like, what the hell are you talking about? And you walk out of the room, you're like, my leadership team, who I'm part of, are now looking at me going, this guy's wasting all this time. My team's gone. You led us into this. It didn't work. So there's all of that happening all the time. But, yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
I felt that even recently. I felt that. But yeah, that's true.
And so thank you for sharing that moment.
Yeah.
I think it's very beautiful. I'm pretty sure.
Wonderful.
I liked how you mentioned it, that you are gardening still, right? I think that everyone needs it. Everyone needs
Yeah.
it. Thank you so much for that.
If you and I also say that it's so I've given the example of a coach. It's like I was reaching out and looking for anything to hold on to. But it doesn't have to be a coach. Like honestly, like it's I talk to her now because now she's my leadership coach as well. And I'm doing these things, and I always have questions and I always have self-doubt. So I'm just basically just making sure I proactively work through it. But friends and other peers, right? There's always people you should you can talk to and learn from.
That's one reason for this community as well. Yeah. Right, Bharat? Yep.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
We're just expecting people to open up more. Calling out here.
It takes time. It takes time. It takes
Calling
time.
out. Calling out.
So one important question I want to hear answer from you. I need from you now is, see, everyone needs mentorship, right? But when do you think one person is ready to do mentoring?
That's a good question.
I once asked someone who is about 8 years younger than me to be my mentor, and they got completely scared. Right. And the reason I had asked them was because they were doing something with so much clarity and so good. I had not been able to get to that point, with a stream of, skill set, presenting and defining projects. And I, at that point, felt this person was the best I knew, but they were 8 years younger than me. I asked them to be my mentor. I felt that this person could teach me a lot, but they felt that they couldn't. Right. So I think it's a hard one to answer. I don't know when you're ready to be a mentor. I think the closest I can come to is, this is again something someone said to me when I was again at a point where I couldn't feel very confident. They said, look, Nav, think of yourself as a particle that's vibrating at an energy. You were vibrating at a certain frequency. When you enter a room, everyone who's around you is going to take a little bit of energy and may start vibrating at that energy. Now you have to work on what energy you vibrate on. If you're vibrating at a nervous energy, when you go to a room, others are going to sense that nervous energy. If you are vibrating at a positive energy, others will feel that positive energy. I'm giving a really weird answer, I just realized, to your question. But what I was trying to say is that if you're at a point where you feel like you have something to share with someone and you feel grounded in that and you feel you're honest to do that,
yeah,
I think you can do that. Whether it's useful to someone or not, don't know, right? Like you have to find someone to find someone who finds it useful. I don't know. Yeah, I don't buy into the notion of every mentor has to have a white beard and gray hair. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like anyone can be a mentor.
Yeah, makes sense.
That's a good take.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like, see, if some work for me, and I just want to share it, right?
Yeah.
And someone is ready to accept that, and I think that's good. That's good enough for me. Like at least right. That's where I'm coming from, and in a way that, as you mentioned, I have to be literally like grounded about it, right? So this is what to be open about it.
Actually, you just made me realize also. I think when you said mentor, I'm kind of thinking in a slightly. I'm not thinking of the mentor just as a, again, like someone who's very old, like someone who's a lot of wisdom and can share. You definitely learn from wisdom. There's no replacement for wisdom. Like time, experience for sure. But what I was saying, like what are you trying to get of it? Like a critique with a peer is sometimes so much more useful than sitting in a session somewhere. Like if you're working on something and you're like, yeah, this works well or not. If you're willing to say, hey, I actually want honest feedback from someone, and you share it with someone who's willing to give you that feedback, and they can give you unemotional but practical feedback and like a critique, that's super useful. And that's kind of like that in the realm of talking to other people and kind of and getting advice and growing, I guess. Yeah. I mean, mentorship in itself is kind of like that label. Mentorship is like, it's just morphed. Let's say a DP list. It's a mentorship platform, but everyone there, like you find so many people to critique. When Bharat, I spoke to you, like the reason I was doing that, all those sessions is I realized when I was talking to people and having to explain something, it would make my thinking about that sharper, right? So it was useful that way as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's one way to think about mentorship. Right? I mean, it's not the stereotypical. I mean, it's not the stereotypical definition of mentorship, but more like what you have to get, like what you can share, right? That would be helpful for the others.
Yeah, I mean, fine. I mean, if you're looking for jobs, if you're a designer, you're looking for jobs. I think one of the key things you like, there's many ways in which you evaluate, many factors that help you to evaluate where you want to work. But I think especially at the beginning of your career, I think one of the most valuable things is to actually find people who you want to learn from and go work with them.
Yes.
That'll be super valuable, super valuable. You can find people who you can learn from rather than just getting a job. I mean, getting a job is important, I know. Beautiful. If you can do that, that's super important. Yeah. I just realized I was just opening the chat. Okay, but there's nothing there.
So now I almost end of the session, but I just want to end with this question, right? Like, see, I'm pretty sure, like, what I'm trying to see, what I'm seeing, the design industry is like, there's a lot of demand, but also a lot of supply, right? And then because of the supply, a lot of good talents also being missed out, right? But for the genuine people who are trying to become or get into a design industry, right? What is something that you want to share for them? Well, I know like a lot of people here are also trying to do that, right?
Yeah.
What is the information that you would like to share, or like some advice, anything?
Yeah.
Can end with
that. If you're being a genuine designer, right? Sorry, being a good designer, right? Is necessary, right? What I mean by good designer is let's say as a craftsman is what I mean, right? Craftsman meaning you're a product designer, you understand product design, you understand design systems, you understand design research, whatever that is, right? Whatever that may be, that is important. But when you are in a sea of so many other designers, there is no option but to stand out. If you go to a shop, where a stationery shop, there's a rack full of pens, right? And if you're looking, let's say you're traveling and you go to a shop and it's all new pens. The pen that will catch your eye first will be the pen that stands out in some way, right? If it's just shades of gray and black and there's pink, you may not be looking for a pink pen, but they will stand out. And unfortunately, when there is a lot of supply, that is the truth. You have to stand out. I will just also say, having done this for 20 years, I've never, ever been in a situation at any given point in time where it felt like the demand was much higher than the supply. It's never been the truth. Supply matches demand. It always is like that, right? You always want to stand out. If you want to get the best opportunities, you want to work with the best people. If you want to work with the best designer, you have to stand out. You can't just be like, I've built a portfolio and, and I'll put it in, applying for jobs by clicking on the LinkedIn, apply with my CV, apply with my CV, apply with my CV. You're just getting piled up in 200, 300 CVs. This is a fact. When I first opened the job for Jiva, the first job in India that we opened, Kenneth had joined after that. No, actually, sorry, this was before Kenneth. We opened the job, and in 3 days, this was on a Thursday. By Sunday, I had like 200 CVs on LinkedIn because LinkedIn makes it so easy, right?
Yeah.
And I just said at that point, I said, anyone who applies with that, reject them outright. Even after that, if they send an email, completely rejected. Because I'm like, not because they're doing something wrong, because I'm like, if that is how you are trying to stand out, or the effort you're putting in, yeah, I'll spend my time first looking at people who are putting in that effort, because the challenge is, that's just the reality. We still hired people who weren't giving us CVs or applying, who weren't standing out in their cover letters or portfolios, but that all came from referrals. When you have 300 applications coming in and you have 2 people on the design team and you're trying to build the design team, at that point, you don't have the luxury of looking at 300 CVs. I'm not gonna. We used to write at the bottom of our, we used to have a Notion page where the JD would be. And at the bottom, we said, we will definitely reply to every email. And then I changed it to, we will reply to every email that was written to us personally. Which when I don't want to reply to you, and say, why?
So that
Now that I think about it,
I mean, think about it this way. If you're buying a knife, right? You either are in the market to buy the cheapest utilitarian knife. You don't care about, that's fine. Right?
Yeah.
But if you are building a team, you're not looking for the utilitarian knife, you're looking for a good knife. You will be sensible and you go, who's the best knife maker? Let me go to them. Ask them, which is your best knife? I will look there. And that's the approach everyone takes, right? If you build a team, I would first look at my network and go, hey, do you know people? Right? And then they would, and then anyone who stands out, and lots of people stood out. Lots of people did, right? Lots of people on my team, I could, tell you stories about how people stood out. But the people who stood out immediately were like, let's talk to this person. Let's talk. Next week, I have time to talk to 4 people. These are the 4 people I want to talk to, because they at least had something interesting to say. They at least had an interesting story to share.
And that was amazing insight.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah, but it's just optimizing it for it, right? Like after a while, you're like, I mean, there is supply, there is demand, fair. But don't be the one out of the 5,000 black pens that are available in the market.
100%. It's also up to the seniors to go find out that it's not only, I'm standing out, right? But the seniors also need to go see who's standing up.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's on us, and it's also on the freshers who know this is what the situation is. And
one thing what I really like about your transparency, and also like the way you said that in the Notion you mentioned right now, like that you said people are reaching out. So I think that's very important, right? Like,
so I'll tell you. I'll tell you an interesting thing about that. Like the way I'm saying stand out, the Notion page, the way we wrote it was our attempt to stand out. Honestly, I was like, I don't want to put my JD on LinkedIn because I also need to stand out. And it worked. Kenneth D'Souza, he lives in Bangalore. He's a senior product design manager. He tweeted our Notion page saying, so refreshing to see JDs written in this way. And immediately when he tweeted, I didn't know him. I saw him, and I saw he was a design manager at Gojek, a senior design manager at Gojek. And I was like, can I find a contact? I immediately messaged my team. Does anyone know him? One guy who had just joined 2 months before that, he said, hey, I think I know him. He messaged him, set up a call, helped me set up a call with Kenneth. I spoke to him. And so it works the other way as well, because I'm trying to find, they're not talented people. I also need to make sure I stand out.
That's very innovative.
That's a good way to look at it. Helps us as well.
Amazing. Like I mean, like, very, 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 very insightful.
I'm going to try all of this.
Top of the heart, and
I get an opportunity.
Please, guys, feel free to ask any questions if you have. I'll come out, but I need to.
Yeah, sure.
30 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I had a lot of values today.
Yeah.
We'll do this probably next year now, like with new set of road. Probably here have you again. Yeah. Please, Shyam, please come in. I'll just drop off. So.
Yeah. Bye.
Take care.
Bye. Yeah. So now, do you have like
take a screenshot? So,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Yeah. Take care.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. Let's open to the chat. If you have like, do you have like a 10 minutes or 20 minutes to answer questions?
Yeah.
If
I
any,
do. I mean, I would just encourage like people can just maybe unmute themselves and just ask the question
that
directly.
would
Yeah.
that's what I would
Yeah.
also encourage and
Yeah.
expect them.
Yeah.
Guys, like, do you guys have any questions to ask? Raise your hand. Right. Yeah, go ahead,
Hey,
Sanjeev.
Sanjeev. Hey, Sanjeevi. Yeah.
Hey, hi guys. Thank
Hey.
you for the session. It was insightful. And I was listening when you were saying what do you look for a day one product designer or a design researcher. But you say that for a junior service designer as well. What is the day one skills you will look for?
Or for service designer.
Yeah.
The junior, so usually, so this is different people define
Mm,
titles and levels of different ways. Junior, I usually define as someone who's well aware of the field, at least of, the tools in the field, but they may not be very well listening. So for a service designer, for example, there's a few tools that we use, right? Prototyping, mapping, journey mapping, service blueprinting. Service design is also such a new, I would say, field
mhm,
relatively that it's not very well defined. People don't learn service design in a lot of places. It's only, most of the time, service design is someone who has actually all the service designers that I've hired. I don't think anyone studied service design, right? Everyone was either a UX designer, product design, like a physical product designer,
mhm,
um, or a UI designer who then kind of transitioned to a role like this, right? So for a junior service designer, it usually is, do you have some experience? Like how well aware are you of things like customer journey mapping, service blueprinting? Do you also understand why they're necessary, right? When I say you're aware of them, doesn't just mean that, oh, I know, you can make post-its, you can make a customer journey map. No, but why are you doing that? Like you may not have done that a lot of times is what I'm trying to say, but you're able to answer questions on, or you're
why you're
able
doing
to have a conversation on what's the necessity of that, right? Where would you do it,
Okay. So
right?
basically, the ability to think and understand why we are doing it and
Have
understand the.
understanding of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I would I have a genuine question. Like, are you seeing opportunities, service design opportunities come up in the market now?
Very few in
not
India.
necessarily
Not
now.
the junior. It will
Yeah,
not be senior service designer. It will be like 5 to 10 years experience, mid level or senior,
Mhm,
yeah,
and there's few in India.
yeah. I was having this conversation with someone on my team as well. So I have a team member, senior service designer. Her name is Juneza Niazi.
Yeah.
She's really, really active. She's written a book on service design as well, and she's really, really good and very active. And she really does a lot. I think the most I know in the community to build the brand of service design and help people become aware of it.
mm,
I think we were having this chat some time back as well that why are service designers senior? Why are most service designers kind of senior? And I think my hypothesis there is because again, like you don't learn and become a service designer right out of school. You
yeah,
do something and then realize at some level, hey, that's where I want to move to. So you've been a product designer for 4 years, 5 years, and then you kind of step into service design and then you kind of start exploring it. Um, and the reason people are not hiring junior service designers is because it's so new that there's also not a lot of senior service designers to help
mm,
mentor a junior service designer. So it's like this weird place. Yeah, that's why I asked that question if there's jobs.
Okay.
Uh,
No. Okay. So I have a follow up question then on the
yeah,
next.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
for
yeah.
example, as we can see, like I also witnessed, like people are transitioning from UX or industrial design or automotive to service design, and they
Yeah,
discover the service design field and find out, okay, this is what I want to do. So for
yeah.
them, the key items you will be looking for is their experience and work experience in their field, for example, industrial design or something, and then the understanding of service design and why is it needed. Is it that or like or experience and service design project as well?
I mean, if you find someone who has a little bit of experience in service design in a good service design team, invaluable,
mm,
invaluable right now because supply and demand, right? There's very little demand for service design, but
mhm,
wherever there is, it's usually when a team understands, hey, I need this.
yes.
I need this kind of person, right? And if then you can find someone with experience, uh, you know, uh, that is super amazing, priceless. But it's very hard to find people like that. Like so I had two service designers on the team, who one UX designer who wanted to move into service design just when I joined. So he moved in, and then one who I met, he got lucky, and he joined. But it took us, I think, about a year and a half, and working with lots of really good recruiters to find that second service designer, right? Sorry, the third service designer. It took very long to find someone good with experience. So experience would be good, but it's very hard to find those. So I would say don't let that discourage you. If you want to grow as a designer, though, what I would really say is try to find a team where there is a service designer, because service design is not understood properly.
Yeah.
Even in teams where there are a couple of service designers, you may join and find yourself not really growing as a service designer. Because, so I'll tell you what happens. This is, again, an example from Jiva. I brought in when I joined, I said, I need 4 service designers. The whole company, everyone around me asked, like, why do you need service designers? Why do you need service designers? And after a while, you go like, I've got 4 people. And, everyone's looking and going, that's a lot of money being spent. What are we getting out of this? Right? So everyone is going to be looking at it and going, do we really need the service designer? What is the outcome? What are we getting out of it? Right? So if you don't have in the organization someone who can really go, no, I need service designers, and this is what they're doing, and this is what they're delivering, it's gonna be a struggle. Right? It's very hard. So find people who are like, go join a team where there is a service designer already, someone who's even most senior, who has some experience. Talk to them and see what kind of work they're doing. Yeah, but the reality, the reality is, I think right now there's so little service designers in the market that I don't think right now you need to worry too much about more experienced service designers. If you see an opening, immediately reach out to whoever the hiring person is, or find some connection and say, hey, I saw this. I want to understand what is it that you're doing with service design.
Yep.
Because there's very little demand, people will be open to have this conversation, because they're also like, oh, there's a service designer. Let me have a chat with them.
Okay, thank you very much, Nav.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
No worries.
Yeah. Awesome. So, anybody else have any other questions? Folks, anything you want to add or ask? I think, Nav can answer 1 or 2 more questions if possible.
Rajesh. Yeah. Rajesh is very informative. Thanks, Rajesh. May I know what is a book that has a big impact in your career life? One is hard to say, right? There's a few books recently that I've been reading and recommending to a lot of people. Okay, I'll tell you, there's 3 books. So every year for our design offsite, I buy a book for my entire team. And so I'll tell you the 3 books that I bought for the entire team, because I think they kind of qualify for books that I think are good, right? First year was Hell No or Yes by a guy called Derek Sivers. It's a very small book. And what I like about that book is it's a book about building clarity in your thought, if whether you should do something or not, like how do you decide, right? Hell No or Yes, that was really, really good. I really like that book. Then I would also recommend, there's another book called, what was it called? The Shape of Design by Frank Camero. It's a book that was written a while back. I like that book because that's the book, when I read it, it first introduced me to this way of like the question why in design. Like, as when you're learning Figma and all, and back then Sketch, Photoshop, we're always talking about like, what are we designing? How do you design it? But that book really made me think of the why. Like, why are you designing? That question. When I read it, I thought it was really, really interesting. And then I think that the book actually, as I was talking about them, all these books, the book that has the biggest impact probably has been Design as a Job by Mike Pontiero. Design as a Job, short book. I love that book. It cuts through all bullshit. And, it kind of puts you as a designer in your place, that you're a designer.
Yep.
This is your job, right? But then it also gives you a lot of, things that help you think more confidently, or think more grounded, in a more grounded way as a designer. Yeah. Shyam, you have a question?
Yeah.
Yep.
Hi, Nav. Thank you for the information you have shared from yourself. So that's a question for me. Recently, I have attended a webinar. It's like a gathering of industrial peoples, which is called Rital India. They're making panels. So it's a manufacturing industry. So I had a chance to talk with the manager there. So I just asked about the design first approach, how they are seeing those design first approach. So he just shared his information like in this kind of manufacturing industries, there are only 30 to 40% of companies who cracked this design first approach. So as in your experience, where do you see this awareness is lagging for this design first approach?
Design. So that's a very it's a very good question, right? See, design only it's very hard to go to a company and say, hey, you need design.
Yep.
Right? Because if a company is going to invest in anything, they need to believe in it. They need to believe that they have a need for it. They need to believe and understand what it can do for them. Right?
Yep.
And different industries are going to be on different levels of this awareness or maturity. You know, so I think it's very hard to say, like, you know, in different industries. Like, I don't know the manufacturing industry that well, but I've worked in I worked in automotive industry. I worked in healthcare, worked in agriculture now, worked in hospitality. You know, different industries just are at different stages. So for instance, like automotive, started looking at design, like automotive. And if you like, how many UI UX designers do you know working in automotive industry, right? Like, I think in the last 5 years that's grown quite a lot, but before that you wouldn't hear about that a lot. But if you think about it, automotive industry was a pioneer when it came to design, but not UI UX design, a different type of design, industrial design, right? Cars, automobiles have been using design as a differentiator, as a very competitive edge over others for a long time. But then UI UX design and all like that kind of stuff came much later. When I talk about healthcare, how many hospitals do you hear of employing designers? Not a lot. But then hospitals or organizations that are trying to design the future of healthcare delivery, they realize that, oh, actually, we need people here who are orchestrating the entire experience. We need service designers, we need design researchers, we need people who can help test how our hypothesis will actually play out and have an impact. So I don't know if at a industry basis, all I know is that different industries are at different levels of awareness and maturity. And I think it gets built into an industry it gets built into an industry based on where the industry is. An industry may see it as a competitive edge. An industry may see it as a hygiene thing that I need to have designers because otherwise I can't even qualify to be called a hotel, right? If I don't have good experience for my customers, or it can be an industry that's looking to innovate and try new things, and hence they need designers.
I could understand. And also follow up, I have another question. So actually, I'm an engineer in my education background. So always there will be a saturation point for the innovations. So there will be a saturation point. So how do you see where will be the saturation point for the design?
I think there will be saturation for innovation. I mean, there'll always be new things to do.
Like
always.
Like I was following up for the mobile phones from the beginning, how it was invented and how it was now. After a saturation point, still the mobiles have updating themselves in the chips and those performance wise, not about the manufacturing side. So everything will have a saturation point, right?
So what I would say is think of it this way: there's evolution and revolution, right? So evolution is a given product or a service that you're optimizing and making it better. Mail in the old days was sent, like people would write letters, let's say, and send it through people who would ride horses for weeks, months, sometimes to give the letter to someone. Then they brought pigeons. Then automobiles came in. Then And then they set up postal networks. Then they were trains, right? Then there were ships and flights. That was the evolution of
The,
communication,
the
right?
internet,
But then
internet
internet
and
came,
cell
that was
phone.
revolution. Internet came, revolution, right? Within a day, like we were trying so hard with planes to get, I can send a letter today and you'll get it tomorrow. I can send it this morning if I pay
Yeah.
a lot of money, you'll send it this evening. As soon as it came out, that's it. There's no competition. Instantly, the message goes somewhere, right? So that was a revolution. So you evolve, and then you evolve, then there's a revolution and you shift, right? There's a shift. Same thing with phones, right? My last phone before I switched to, let's say, this iPhones, was a Symbian Nokia E60. It was a keyboard phone, looked very much like a BlackBerry, but it was great because first it was like the Nokia 3310 came out. That I was in university back then, and then there was about 10 years of just
Wait, wait, wait.
not even 10 years, like 6 7 years. That's it. Just
Yeah.
revolution that was in. Sorry, this I keep confusing revolution, evolution. Basically, phones kept evolving and just getting better. Color screens came in, and they just kept getting better and better, smaller and smaller. And suddenly, when the iPhone came, that was a revolution, completely different. So what I'm trying to basically say, Shab, is that you may feel that, it's hit stagnancy, but that just means now it needs
Yeah,
to
it
move somewhere else.
evolves into something else.
It just has
Correct me
to,
if I'm
right?
wrong, right?
And
Yeah,
Yeah,
it always evolves into something else, and
yeah,
that takes you to the next
another
innovation cycle.
innovations, yeah,
yeah,
ecosystem.
yeah, yeah.
So
So
I think
AI right now, right?
there is
For instance,
a
right now.
there's a cycle for that, right? I forgot the name of it, like
Yeah. I'm
chasm of
using revolution, evolution,
innovation.
but yeah,
There's a
like
graph,
I've
a
never
beautiful graph of like early adopters and late adopters, and then saturation point. So every shift in technology goes through that shop. So
Yeah,
every shift in technology goes through that cycle, and you can call it end of this innovation cycle and starting of the next innovation cycle.
Okay.
So you
yeah.
will always, as a designer or whoever you call yourself, you will always have things to innovate. Right?
It's always gonna be. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you now. Thank you, Sham.
So that's
No
how
worries.
I think. Anybody else?
I think.
I
Yeah,
think we
I
can
think.
take one more question, right now, or
Yeah. I mean, I have another 10 minutes if anyone has
yeah.
questions. That's okay. Karthik,
Who
please go ahead.
would want to go first? Karthik? Yeah.
Sure. Thank you, Krishna. And thank you so much now for taking your time. And these are really valuable insights that you are providing. Really
Thanks.
helpful. Thank you so much for that. And I would like to ask this question where you are mentioning that designers who think beyond the design tools, where they kind of think big picture, those are the ones who will be sustaining, or those are the ones who will be evolving with what are the market needs. Let's say if a junior designer is joining a team today, uh, how you will mold that person to bring the characteristics into them so that they evolve into thinking big picture there rather than just thinking just from the design tools.
I think giving them the opportunity and the space, and it's much harder to do. Um, being supportive, being encouraging, and being true and honest about what do you really think helps designers grow. Because sometimes that will become inconvenient, right? So when you're working with somebody, you expect an output. They may work in a certain way and to get you the output. So if it's a product designer, for example, you say, hey, I need, you're working on these designs. By next Tuesday, can we have a review? They come to the review, and the junior, and you see there's a lot of mistakes, or they haven't gone into the direction that they should have. At that point, if you think you're running late, it'll be very tempting at that point to become very prescriptive and say, no, this is not what I wanted you to do. Make this. I'll sketch it out, go back and make this in Figma and give it to me. They're going to learn nothing from that, right? So at that point, if you really want to invest in someone's growth, at that point, taking the time to go, okay, we made a mistake. Where did we make a mistake here, right? When we discussed on Friday, did I explain everything? Like when I said this, what did you understand?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And acknowledge, have empathy for that person. Right? They're trying to do a good job. If they've gone in a completely different direction, try and go to the bottom of what made them go in a different direction, and then help them, right? Go, maybe at that point you need to go, okay, next time, I may not be so good with my words to explain. So next time when we do that, why don't you make a sketch first, like a wireframe, a paper wireframe, right? Make a wireframe, show it to me within half an hour to make sure I've been able to explain myself correctly. Build their confidence in that way, right? Help guide them on the right thing, because it becomes very easy, very tempting, especially in a high performance job, to just become very prescriptive at every point. You have 5 reviews a day, 5 critiques a day. It's very tempting to just say, no, don't do this. Login screen with a Google and a Facebook button. That's all I need. Go back. Your team's learning nothing. Nobody's learning at nothing. And you're going to keep doing that throughout the year, because your team's not learning anything. They're just learning that Nav wants, you show him something, Nav will tell you, he will, right? That's all they're doing. So if you really want to grow, you go, okay, if they've come to this meeting and it's gone in a different direction, how can you invest in actually having those conversations with them, and you as someone who's growing them, you need to learn about that as well. That's why I have a coach, because I'm trying to learn how I coach others better, right? So you invest in yourself to be able to teach others.
Absolutely.
Did that Kish, I don't know if that answered your question. I feel like I did. I don't know if I missed anything. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
It did. Thank you.
Thanks.
That's great. Awesome. Anybody else? We can take one more question. Yeah. Ranjit.
Okay, Ranjit and Sri. Okay, let's take these two, and then I think we can hang out.
We take both
Ranjit.
of them.
Yeah, hi. It was a very informative session. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yep.
I had one question. How do I showcase my research work or UX data I discover for my project in my portfolio? Because why I'm asking this, when I'm applying for a job as a UX researcher, UX designer, or a role with similar responsibilities, I have noticed that many portfolios primarily focus on UI design or how I'm going to solve a specific problem.
Yeah.
So my question is, so how can I effectively pitch myself as a strong candidate in UX through my portfolio? So that's my question.
Yeah.
So if you are hiring someone for that role, what qualities do you seek in that candidate profile or portfolio, and what task would you assign to assess their skills?
Right. Yeah. Great question. So, first of all, like I said, right, day one skills. So if I'm hiring, in my JD, I would try to explain very clearly what are the skills that we're looking for. If I haven't done that very clearly, you should just reach out and say, "Hey, I read your JD. I have a few questions about the JD. I'm not asking for an interview, but I'm writing those questions in the email. Can you help me clarify or ask?" Right? Okay. On the day one, what skills are you looking for? Like, what tasks is the person expected to do when they join immediately, right? Because that will help you understand what they're looking for, right? Be very clear about your skills, right? Don't try to hide or don't be ashamed to talk about things that you're learning. Right? Say, hey, I started with I've 3 months ago I started doing research interviews as well. Don't think I'm completely proficient, but 3 months in, feel fairly confident, for example. That's one. Second, if you talk about your portfolio, again, it's about standing out, really. Do not, if you're applying for a job, do not apply through a LinkedIn. Click, I will, send the CV. Even if there's at the end of the JD, there is an email address that says designjobs@jiva.ag. I would say don't even bother sending an email to that email address. What you should do is go on LinkedIn, go on Twitter, go on Instagram, find who are the other people working in this team. Find someone junior and say, hey, I saw you working in this team. Can we have a chat? I want to know more about this job. A junior person will be like someone junior on my team who's like, hey, someone reached out to me. Just imagine how excited they'd be. They'd be like, nah, someone reached out to me. They were asking about the job. Can you have a call? Right. I find people, have a conversation with them, understand what really is the role for, and that'll really, really help you kind of customize or make a pitch that fits that job role. The other part of your question was also like, how do you show your research work? What's the best way to kind of build a portfolio, right? What I would say is research is all about empathy, right? Like, because that's what you're trying to do. What is empathy? Empathy is really being able to get in the user's shoes and understand what they're going through, right? The difference between empathy and sympathy is very important, right? Sympathy is I can understand what you might be going through, and I can relate to it. Empathy is I can feel what you're going through, right? It's very different. Now, the reason I bring that up is research is about showcasing that, is about stepping into the user's shoes. So your research portfolio, try to do that. Best research portfolios that I've seen have videos.
Yeah.
Best research portfolios that I've seen have audio clips, lots of pictures. Really, because I seen it like a 5 paragraphs where you said I went here, went here, went here, versus a 1 minute video which showcases you traveling out of the speed, doing stuff.
Yep.
That's a great introduction.
Yeah.
Right.
Field research also not one of that, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Field research. But at the same time, so that's one. But the last part I would say is, whichever field you're in, there's different parts that whichever, let's say, field of design you're in, every design field has hard parts to it, hard skills and easy skills. For example, in research, if you're talking about research, generating insights is one of the toughest things to do in all of design.
Yep.
Conducting interviews is the easy part. So what you want to say is you want to show that you've done interviews, because that shows hygiene level. I've done this. Don't worry about it. Showcase that. But you may want to talk about, you go like, how do I generate insights? These are the insights I've generated. These are the impact that it has. So anyone who's into research will immediately go, this person knows what they're talking about, because this is the hard stuff. Same for product design, right? If you say, I'm really good at Figma, everyone's good at Figma. Don't talk about it. Just you've mentioned somewhere that it's fine. Even now, if you say design systems, I've done a lot of design systems. Everyone's going to done design systems. No one wants to hear that. Talk about what was it interesting about your design system. If there was nothing amazingly interesting about a design system, you can even say, I've created design systems that help me, bring everything on parity within 2 months or whatever. And that, be honest
improve
about it.
efficiency. You can talk about improving efficiency.
Improving efficiency. Yeah. But one of the best advice I would give from an interview or reaching out to someone is, do not send LinkedIn CVs, do not send design jobs at company.com. No, find people in that team, try talking to them, understand what the job is about, get yourself in front of the manager. That's the first step, because you won't even, otherwise it's just, you're playing roulette, you're just sending an email somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, being more genuine about understanding what my job role would be in that company, right? So
yeah. I mean, I have in the last 4 years, I have people who I have not hired for my job, but then ended up recommending them somewhere else, because I was like, because a lot of times you're genuine. Like, what I'm looking for, day one skills you don't have. You're smart, but you don't have those skill sets. Or you're a product designer, you want to move into design research in 6 months. I know I have a research team, but I don't need someone there. So unfortunately, no. But we've had a conversation. You're good. If someone asks me, and this is how it is, right? People will ask you, hey, do you know a designer? And immediately I'll go like, oh, I knew this guy. Like, he's based out of Pune or whatever. Do you want to talk to him? Yeah. Have conversations.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks. Hey, Sri.
Hey, Sri.
Hi, Nav.
Can go ahead.
Actually, thank you so much for the time you're taking to do this. So my question is, while you're talking, you said that you moved a person from a UX design team to service design team, right? So
no, yeah, someone came. They joined the service design team. They were doing UX design, and then they moved into a service design team, and that's where I hired them. I didn't move them in at Jiva, but yeah. That's
like
yeah.
So what are the skill set that made you to help you to take that decision? Like, what are the it's different, right? Like, what made you to do that?
Yeah. So I think so. I'll tell you the first 2 service designers on my team. The first person was one of them was a UX designer, and in the last job they kind of went, I want to move into service design, and hence they left that job and were looking for opportunities. So this was someone already who'd made a decision, which means they knew what service design was, they knew why they wanted to do it. And again, I was looking for people, and not a lot of service designers in the market, right? So I spoke to them and they were like, this is why I want to do service design. And I was like, awesome. You don't have a lot of experience, but it's very hard to find people with experience. But you've made it if you want to move into service design, and you put in the effort to learn about it, and you have experience as a UX designer. So okay, let's do it. Let's try. The second person I hired them mainly because of, again, how they approached the job. They sent me a message on LinkedIn, right? And I can't remember what they'd written, but it was a very genuine message, kind of like, hey, I'm looking for this opportunity. This is what I do. Would you have time for a call? And again, service design, not a lot of people. So, and they've written it in a very nice way. So I got on a call with them, and I think it's a very easy decision after that. Like, I could see this person was very much into it. They'd been an industrial designer before this. I see they've done good industrial design work. They've run a Kickstarter campaign for a very successful product in industrial design. So I could see this person was fired up. They're like, I've done a little bit. I've done customer journey mapping. I did service design for a client. I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I could tell this person was someone senior. But I could tell they have a level head on their head and they know what this is about, and they would jump in. And they're still with the team, and yeah, they do. This was the Karan Patel on my team. He's a senior service designer. The smartest people I've worked with. Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome. Right. Anything else you wanna ask Srivatsan, or we close the session?
Yeah, I'm good. Like, we can. I mean,
Yep.
I'm okay with that.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Right.
Awesome, guys, and
Right.
thanks so much, Nav. I had a fun like session, right? So I hope you had as well, and thanks for
Yeah, it's great chatting with you guys. Yeah.
everybody's questions, right? So that was amazing, right? So I hope everybody else had a great session. Spending your Saturdays here. So that was something. You're dedicating yourself to learn more about design, right? So that kudos to all of you.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. Like I said, I had fun. It was a good, fun conversation. Hopefully, this was helpful.
Yeah.
I don't have any slots open on ADP list anymore because usually I just say that, hey, if anyone wants to chat. But I'm I'm not very active, but I am on LinkedIn. So feel free to just drop me a message. I don't have any slots open on ADP list, but I will. I do try to keep having conversations with people. So again, yeah, just drop me a message on LinkedIn if anyone wants to have any chat.
Awesome. That's great.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Yeah, thanks again,
Nav.
Nav, and have a great weekend. Nice meeting you as well, right? Thanks to Bharat for introducing you to me and introducing you to the clan, right? So yeah, have a great weekend,
You guys are
everybody.
doing a
Bye bye.
great work. Awesome. Bye bye.
Bye bye.